Hello everyone. Today I'm very excited about our 19th interview from the ToolSense Interview-Series workshop talks. I'm Jennifer and I'm responsible for communication at ToolSense. And our guest today is Aleksander Holter, Managing Director at Recover Environmental Services Group. And then of course I would like to introduce Alexander Manafi, CEO and co-founder of ToolSense. Mr. Holter, perhaps you could tell us a few sentences about yourself and Recover Group.
Yes, I can. Thank you so much. So my name is Aleksander Holter. I've been with Recover for soon 3 years. Recover is a company that was acquired by EQT, a private equity fund, March 2020. And the ambition for the group with the private equity owner is, of course, to grow the business. For a 5-7 year period before EQT will hand it over to someone else or list it on the stock exchange. Recover is a company that predominantly work within property remediation, but it also has an environmental service business area, which I'm currently managing. But when I started in Recover, I was actually recruited as head of M&A, inorganic growth, acquiring companies, as we were going on a growth trajectory with EQT as an owner. And I think that joining the company, I was around meeting a lot of new companies, discussing with regional managers and trying to find out where we wanted to grow, what strategy we should follow, and getting to know the business. I quickly understood that we didn't really have any asset management tool in the organization, and that we are always, of course, hunting margins, trying to improve the business, growing top line and bottom line. And I understood that we were actually spending a lot of money on tools, on machinery, and a lot of the reasons for us spending a lot of money on this is because we were actually losing a lot of tools and machineries, and that could be in for many reasons. We are actually working at customer premises when there's a damage. We can go into an apartment, a building, coming in with dehumidifiers or other type of tools to kind of fix the damage or reconstruct the damage. And there's a lot of people coming and going on a project, and we didn't have a system where people were actually scanning out tools or scanning out machinery. They were just picking it out from an inventory, bringing it out to an address, and then suddenly somebody went on another project, and when the project was finished, things were forgotten. It could be on an attic, in the basement, wherever, right? And we're actually spending a lot of money on having to buy new tools because we're losing things. And then even just you could assume that we had an asset register, but that's not really how it works in reality. We could buy machinery for 250,000 euro, and then it gets booked into the asset register as one ticket instead of actually the 50 tickets it should come into the system with.
How did you manage your equipment prior to ToolSense, and what were the major challenges and pain points of that situation?
Yeah, I would say that we managed it very poorly. We have, let's say in a country like Norway, we would have 70 branch offices, and a branch manager would buy his equipment when he needs equipment. So that would mean, like, for instance, let's say we have a mass damage, 50 houses has water damage because of a flood, and then we would place out our dehumidifiers in all these 50 buildings, and then suddenly 10 new orders come in, and he says, I have no more dehumidifiers, so he orders 10. And then suddenly we have 60. And then when we bring everything back after the damage, maybe we have 40 in the inventory because we forgot 20. But the branch manager doesn't know, because he doesn't know that he lost 20, because he didn't know if he had 50 or 60 or 40 in the starting point, right? So this is the whole problem for us. Tools, we could buy tool packages for every employee for 4,000 or 5,000 euros. It will be a kit, and you give it to an employee, and then after 2 years he leaves, he quits. And then, how do you take back the tools? So he will just hand you some tools to the branch manager, and he will say thank you, but he didn't really check it towards a list. So, did we get everything? Did we get half? We have no control on this. So I would say very poorly. We managed this really. We managed it really poorly, to be honest.
And Mr. Holter, how did you first get in touch with ToolSense?
I think you got in touch with me, and just by coincidence, because I had also noticed that we had very poor asset control, I engaged in the conversation very skeptically, but I did.
Okay, well, thanks for your honesty. And maybe next question is better than what is your vision for the partnership with ToolSense?
I think that the vision needs to be that we have integrated an asset control in the whole company, and that we have included all assets over a certain value into the system. That we have processes that will enable us actually not just to have asset control, but actually use our assets better. I'll just make one example that I've noticed. What we can do now, and because of Manuel, he was able to make some changes. We can actually, with QR codes on the assets, we can have an operator taking with him a machine, place it at the customer, just scan it with his phone, get up a Google address that pretty much fits very often. He could just then mark a ticket to the asset, and then when then a branch manager, let's say in another place in Norway, want to see these available machines, what's available in the company, what's out in the field, and what's in the inventory. He could actually then go in and search very specifically after certain assets, and then see that everything that has a ticket should most likely be taken or occupied at a customer, while the ones that doesn't have a ticker should more or less be available in the inventory. So this could potentially also for our group help us manage assets more effectively, and instead of just buying, we could actually then use assets much more efficiently in the group. So just kind of reducing cost in buying things, having better control, increase efficiency. I think it's quite big potential actually for something like this for our company.
Yeah, that sounds good. And maybe now the question directed to the other Aleksander. What is your vision for the partnership with Recover?
So as Aleksander mentioned, it is a challenging environment, I would say, because on the one hand, the machines are extremely critical for the day-to-day operations, but on the other hand, also they don't cost you like 100,000 euro typically, right? So you also have to be very price efficient into how can you actually digitize this kind of equipment, and so finding, let's say, workarounds, finding ways like what you mentioned with QR codes stuff to let's say get a better feeling of the state of the asset. That's very critical. But on the other hand, also, as you said, Recover has more than 2,500 employees and 200 branches, and if basically we can solve that challenge, that of course has a very big impact on operations, but also on operational efficiency and also margins. And I think that's for us is for us the motivation that we can have a little impact, at least that's our ambition, and making life a little bit easier for the team members. And yeah, that's what we're trying to do.
Well, thank you for your interesting insights. Maybe another question, Mr. Holter. Where do you see the status quo of digitalization in environmental services, and what do you think will change within the next 10 years maybe?
Digitalization is kind of a word or a thing that a lot of people are talking about, right? And the question is like, what is that? I think that at least for us, I think if we can come to a place where we are data driven and things are digitalized in terms of reducing manual processes, having more optimized processes, I think that of course you will increase efficiency. But I think the fact of ensuring control in every step of our working processes is extremely important. I think that if I'm thinking about what creates value, it's what we call system value, structure value. And I think for us, that is to be able to actually track data that are reliable, and where we can make decisions on, where to invest, most profitable customers, service lines, geographies, and then, have a strategy to grow within the most profitable areas. And I think having data and digitalization in getting in that data with high quality, I think it's key. But it means a lot of different things for a lot of different companies. But of course, this ToolSense also it starts out with the manual process of registering things, but then it helps us reduce a lot, increase our automation by just having a system support, and digitalization is for me gathering data, reducing manual processes, automizing things, and ensuring higher quality, so that we can make the right decisions. And I think, of course, we need to get there in some way, but for me, a lot of people are talking about digitalization, but I never really hear what they're actually doing to what they're investing in, and what they're doing specifically to kind of come to the perfect company, the perfect structure, because it's quite challenging actually. But for me and for environmental service, it's very obvious. We need to get better control on our assets, be more efficient with our assets, and we need to get quality data input in every step of our working environment, so that we can make good decisions. So it's a little bit about the big data thing, for us at least. I think the player that can actually show that they're making specific decisions based on data, I think that those are the winners. Not because if you think something, because you know something, and that's where we're trying to move. But then you need to have systems talking together. So we need to call it integrations between systems, and that's what I just mentioned with ToolSense, right? I think we haven't even spoken with ToolSense about what type of integrations is available. If we put a lot of data into ToolSense, that are operational data that we need to kind of also benefit from, how do we get that back into a data warehouse where you can use Power BI, etc., to kind of understand more. But yeah, I don't know if that was an okay answer to your question.
It was. Okay, then we already reached the end. Thank you very much for this exciting exchange. I was very pleased that you, Mr. Holter, were here today, and perhaps we will hear from you again soon.